All right, welcome to the KMTV 3 News Now Facebook page. Michael Severe and I just got done moderating a 1-hour-long debate between Cara Eastman and Don Bacon. We got a lot of questions in, that's for sure. It was spirited. There was very little agreement, almost none. What did you think?
Well, I thought that's what we expected. I don't know if there is or has been a race as divergent as what we have this time. Since I've been living here, I've been here since '02, and I mean, he made a comment that she is left of Nancy Pelosi, and I mean, in some ways she is. On the other hand, Cara made the comment several times that Don Bacon was with the president 100% with his voting, and that really shows how divergent they are. And I think that's what makes a great debate. I think that's what makes a great race, because you have the opportunity to vote on November 6th for as completely different opponents as you possibly could.
Yeah, it's a good point. You know, when the candidates had a chance to ask each other a question, you know, Cara Eastman asked Don Bacon, why are you not willing to risk your political life to stand up to this president? And then she hit him with a zinger on, there you go again, as you're listening to bait and switch Bacon. And so it seemed like she was on the attack a bit more.
Yeah, and she has to be.
Right.
I mean, honestly, if you just talk to people, she's kind of a long shot. But nationally, that's been the case with a lot of women, a lot of progressives across the country. And some of them have won. And so she has to be on the attack all the time. I really thought that the question she asked in her question was true. But at the same time, I understand that President Trump has a 40% or 36 to 40% base. And that base gets out, that base votes. And so if you do go against him, you're risking your position. So I understand that. If you want to stay in office, you really can't go at this point against him much.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of his popularity locally at the rally at the Mid-America Center last Tuesday.
Exactly.
I mean, he had 5,000 some odd people, you know, just going wild.
Mostly Nebraskans.
You know, like he was a rock star. And, you know, and Bacon seemed at sometimes to go back to his themes that the tax cuts are working, that unemployment is low, and that people have jobs, and things are good in the 2nd Congressional District. So why would we change course?
Here's the thing that's not debatable, okay? And this is because we live in an ag environment in Nebraska, because we are in the Midwest and we're kind of secure. We've always been pretty good. You know, even in some of the toughest times, you go back to '08 with the recession, it took a while for it to get to us because we're so secure. Yeah, we're always going to be in good shape. And I think there are a lot of people out there that look and say, yeah, I think everything is much better. Here's the problem. You have to point out where it's going to be in 2 years. That's what Ms. Eastman's job is, to say, okay, it's fine now, but this is coming off of, Alicia's what she says, coming off of Obama and things that he did. So she's got to say, what's it going to be in 2 years when you have the chance to re-elect Donald Trump? So that's where she's got to go with this.
And you know, the voters have a decision to make on November 6th. You know, pretty clear.
Yeah.
Stay the course or make a major change.
Yeah, and that's the decision that's happening across the country. It's interesting, talking to people at CNN and MSNBC, guys that I've worked with over the years, photographers, guys you know, like Jeremy Harkin, guys that we've known for years. And they say it's the biggest question they have out there. There's about 4 races where they really don't know who is going to win it, and do they even need to cover it? And one of them is right here in the 2nd District for Congress here in Nebraska. And that makes it really interesting that we are a national race that's going to be watched that entire night. And when you go out to vote on that day in this race, it's going to affect a lot of things. It could affect whether or not the Democrats get, you know, Congress back. It's a very impactful race.
Yeah, and it was interesting in the closing statements, candidate Eastman pivoted back to health care.
Sure, that's her main part.
And the anecdote about her mother and the prescription drug costs while she was suffering from cancer. So we went through all these issues, at least 16, I think I counted. We went through 16 issues, and at the end she pivoted back to what was the #1 issue to her base, and that she's really hanging her head on come Election Day.
And kind of behind the scenes, when we put together these questions and kind of arranged them, we went with what one person's strength was and made sure that we had somebody following up with their strength. You know, obviously healthcare is Cara Eastman's, defense is Don Bacon, so we kind of got to go back and forth. But I'll tell you, the things that affect all of us, healthcare, taxes, those 2 are the one that people care about the most. Hey, I've got 2 kids who, you know, one of my kids is $1 million kid based off of what's happened with his medical stuff and his surgeries and everything else. And I have 2 kids who are both hard of hearing and one is deaf. It costs a lot of money for insurance. So we can all relate to some of those issues. The question is, do you believe, Cara Eastman, that we can actually have Medicaid for all, we can have single payer? Do you believe that? Or do you believe more what Don Bacon says is the way it's working now, is so bad that we're going to have to go and look kind of backwards of what we've had, you know, previous to Obamacare. That's the decision you have.
Yeah, and you know, we mentioned healthcare. I think I wrote it down, and it's in my notes here somewhere, that we went with about 3 or 4 healthcare questions, and we allowed the 30 seconds when you're attacked. And I wrote it down. It was 6:06 when the healthcare issue, we moved on to tax cuts.
Gotcha.
And so it was a prime issue. And then, as you mentioned, the second issue, tax cuts, which Congressman Bacon thinks is one of his strengths. Right. You know, he dug in. And Kara Eastman said pretty much what Brad Ashford said in the primary debate, that, you know, unemployment's low, there were tax cuts, but the debt has ballooned, the deficit has ballooned, and things are not that good based on the doors that she knocks on.
And Craig, and I know you've been involved in covering politics for 2 decades. I don't know how much the individual person at home cares about the deficit. I don't. I know there are people that it's their main thing in life to criticize the deficit and worry about it. I think the majority of people out there go, yeah, we owe a lot of money to somebody, but you know what? If it involves us getting lower costs for my health care and my premiums, or my taxes are going to go down, or I'm more secure in terms of defense, I'm fine with it.
And can't you say in some senses that's the American way? I mean, we all have credit cards. We all have credit card debt. I mean, you know, the holidays are coming. Pull out the plastic and worry about it in January when the bill comes.
Right. And honestly, look, I understand. Eventually, it's gonna come due, and China, whoever else is gonna go, hey, give us our money. I get that, but right now, I don't think that's one of the big concerns for the American people.
Were there any surprise issues there that was more feisty to you from where you sat?
I thought it was interesting, and we've asked this question now for a few debates. What's going to happen with congressional leadership? And I thought it was interesting what Don Bacon said, that of course she's not going to support Nancy Pelosi because she's left of that, and she's not thinking that Nancy Pelosi is progressive enough for her. And then Eastman came back and she basically said, but why are those ads saying that I'm with Pelosi? Of course, he said it's not his ad, but that is the rhetoric out there. The rhetoric is that she is with Nancy Pelosi, just like they said that Brad Ashford was with Nancy Pelosi, which was actually a little bit closer to the truth, actually. But I don't think she is. I think just go down the list of things she talks about in terms of student debt, in terms of health care for everyone. All of that stuff is a little left.
Yeah, and it's kind of like this new type of candidate, like Ocasio-Cortez that we're seeing in New York.
Yes,
who's gained a lot of traction going, you know, left of center, not even left of center, left of her Democratic base. Well,
just like you have 36 to 40% of people who are dedicated to Donald Trump and the president in terms of how they're going to vote, there is a progressive movement out there that's growing every day that is a base as well. If she can get a high turnout, we know this, we can get a high turnout of young people who look at it and say, the progressive way is going to help me. And at the same time, since it's a mid-year election, that you don't have as many conservatives going out to vote, that is her best shot, to attach herself to that progressive movement, like what's happening around the country.
Right, which brings a question, you know, which party has the energy and momentum?
Sure, definitely.
You know, in the midterm party that in charge, even Trump said this at the rally last week at the Mid-America Center, that people who are in charge, who have power at the midterm election, tend to turn out less than they do in a general election. I mean, that's statistically been proven. You know what caught me a little bit was, you know, when you talk about student loans and debt. Okay, and it immediately became a back and forth about free college. How much it's going to cost, what Kara Eastman wants in terms of sending people to community colleges for free, and Don Bacon saying that we just can't afford it. You know, who's going to pay for this? He knocks on doors and people say, I don't want to pay for other kids' colleges. And, you know, and she says, well, you know, you're with the party that just ballooned the deficit. And so, you know, it wasn't an answer that we want to educate our millennials and young people and that you know, $50,000–$60,000 a year is too much for tuition. It became an argument about who's paying, what's free, and what's not, and what's expensive.
Well, you know, she said she's knocked on 9,000 doors. He said he's knocked on 3. Listen, as a parent of 2 kids that are probably going to go to college, and we're probably going to have to pay for part of it, I'm probably not the person answering the door saying, I don't want to pay for other people, because I'm going to be paying for other people's college. 2 of my kids. That is the idea of trade school and community college and trying to be able to fund that so people can go for free. We've been talking about that for 40 years. I was an education reporter, you know, back with you in Albuquerque.
KOAT, sure.
And this is one of the discussions we've been having for years on how are we going to be able to train our people to go out and get high-paying jobs. It used to happen in high school. You used to go to Omaha Tech and come out with something like a plumber. You could come out to be an electrician. That used to wait, but that doesn't happen anymore. Right. We don't get that as much now. So you have to get out of high school and go someplace else. And so I understand what she's saying about Metro, because Metro is a great place. Whether it's their culinary school, they have a truck driving school there. All of that stuff is great. The question is, can we afford it? Can we afford to foot the bill either to give you money back once you've gotten in the workforce, or to give it to you up front to go to school?
Foreign policy came up a couple of times, of course, and Russia was a flashpoint.
Always.
You know, it went back and forth and even led into one of our questions. And then when the congressman asked Kara Eastman a question, it was about, you know, nuclear weapons and spending.
Well, he went with his wheelhouse. He asked her a wheelhouse using a lot of vernacular that unless you're in that wheelhouse, you don't even know, to try to trip her up. Obviously, talking about the triad and what's happening with certain ICBMs and all the things that if you were in the military, sure.
All right.
But you throws it to a social worker. I thought she did fine on the question. It's really an impossible question because, as we all know, the nuclear option is the final option. There's nothing after that. And so that's kind of what she said. But, you know, defense is going to be a big part of it, and Russia's a big part of it as well, because people are concerned about what's happening with our elections.
Social Security was good because, it's important because to me it affects so many generations.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you get Social Security, it's one of those issues where you see it on the political spots. And you can say, well, that's the old scare the seniors.
Exactly.
You know,
get them to go out and vote.
And look, the seniors are going to be fine. They're not going to come to anybody that's 75, 80, 85 years old and say, choom, we're taking your check away. Not going to happen. But the seniors do go out and vote, even on election day, maybe not early voting. You know, but it's interesting that the Social Security Administration has a specific year, 2037, where...
Well, it's a math problem. It shouldn't be difficult. It's a simple math problem.
Funded.
Here's how many people we have. Here's how much money we have. Here's what happens when we reach the limit where we don't have any money left.
And so they say, well, we'll cut benefits.
Yes.
Or we're going to raise the cap and take more out of your paycheck.
Right. Or we'll move the age to where you can retire.
Right.
And he talked about doing that for people who are 30 or younger. I don't think that's enough. If you look at the numbers, you have to do it for even more people than that. You almost have to do it for the people who are coming into the workforce right now. And say the people who are coming in at 18 and 19 years old, those folks now all of a sudden have to retire at 72.
Yeah, and she mentioned that, 74. You know, you're going to have people that are into their upper 60s and 70s climbing ladders and doing, you know, manual labor just to get to Social Security.
Right,
you know? And so even on Social Security, it went back and forth. And I'm not sure anything really got solved or there was any...
No, there's nothing to... Listen, if you study this at all and you look back what had to happen under FDR and where we got to, this has never been something that was going to be forever. We know that. It's just impossible. We have too many babies. We have too many people. We can never be able to fund this forever because, you know, it's just it's a simple math equation. And that's where we are.
You know, Medicare for All, that got in there early. Yeah. You know, but it wasn't... You know, sometimes these debates take a while to get the energy going. Yeah. You know, and it takes a while for the spin cycle to start spinning faster. Yeah. And it came on early. You know, and there was a couple of jabs from either side, but we kind of move on. Did you see anything there that tripped your trigger?
I know this, and I think we actually had the conversation maybe 3 or 4 debates ago about it. But there's really no solution. It's one of those problems where the problem is so great that we almost have to manage it, you know? We almost have to just kind of coax it along and try to do our best to get as many people insured, as many kids insured for the lowest rate we can. I don't think we can fix it. If you go back and you look at the debate between Nixon and Kennedy, it was a debate then. You know, before Bill Clinton got in office, it was a debate. That's what Hillary Clinton spent her entire 8 years as First Lady trying to figure out. I don't think this never can be fixed. We have to find the best way to where people aren't going to be homeless because they can't afford either medicines or can't afford to be able to get their medical care they need to get.
You know, when you think about how important this seat is, you know, the Democrats need to flip 23 seats.
Exactly.
You know, and if they were to do that, and the Republicans maintain control of the House, so then you've got the Democrats control the House, the Republicans control the Senate and the Oval Office, and you start heading back toward really gridlock.
Yeah. Well, we're at that kind of right now, aren't we, in a way?
Close.
Right? Because you have the block in the Senate, where you have a certain amount of senators who can block pretty much whatever they want to block.
Right. Yeah. But the Democrats would come up with a little bit more clout.
Oh, sure.
You know, when it comes to things like immigration bills that we talked to tonight, and things like that. I mean, yeah, sure, both parties can agree on that the opioid epidemic needs to be addressed.
Right.
Who's against that? Right.
And no one wants you know, felons, people who commit crimes, drug dealers that come into the country. But again, going all the way back, we've been having this immigration debate since after World War II. World War II ended, and we're like, well, where are the Jewish people going to go? And people are like, well, they can't come to America. Well, luckily, New York State decided, no, we are going to help them. And so New York State on its own did that. This is something we've been discussing again for 80 years, man. It's always going to be there. We just have to figure out a way, and I'm talking about the politicians, to be able to balance it.
You know, it was interesting to me that the wall came up.
That did.
So early. I mean, we hadn't even asked an immigration question.
Yeah.
I think it was a family separation that Eastman segued into.
Because he was talking about spending a lot of money on things, and she's like, well, what about the money you're trying to spend on the wall? You're telling me we don't have enough money to be able to get people free health care, but we have enough money to put up a wall. So
and then he pivoted to human trafficking and things of that nature.
Right, yeah.
But it was interesting that she said, you won't even stand up to a president that separates families at the border and is for building a wall. Yeah. And then he pivoted to, well, you know, you have to have some border security and you can't have human trafficking.
We didn't quite get into this, but one of the big things is if we continue to push a lot of the illegals out of this country, we're having a job shortage, actually. We're having jobs that are open that have nobody to take it. And when you start getting to that point, the jobs report, for example, came out last month and said we are approaching a point where we're a little nervous because we don't have people that take jobs because they're leaving the country or they can't get in the country. So you have to balance that. Yes, you want people to be here legally, there's no doubt. At the same time, you want people to be able to work these jobs so we can have the products we need to survive.
Which really made the question more sensible. Was that, you know, should we element out parts of immigration as opposed to a comprehensive policy that tries to address a bunch of solutions? Just element out and go premise to premise, if you will.
Well, we have to figure out a way to be able to keep the country safe. We know that. I mean, that's the bottom line. And that's, you know, Donald Trump talks about that a lot. He does it in a unique way. I mean, she called him treasonous at one point. You could tell that Don Bacon didn't take that very well with the way he came back. But a lot of people that are progressives that are on her side feel that way. They feel he's done that.
There was a reference to him meeting with Putin.
Yes, exactly.
And then standing side by side having the press conference. So there wasn't a ton of context to that. It was Russia involved. And you know, I'm not sure, you say her supporters would know that, but I'm not sure if Omahans, you know, from door to door are worried about Russia.
You know, I agree with you. I agree with you.
I'm not sure they are. She's knocked on she said 120,000 doors the other day, so she does hear from the people. He's knocked on doors.
Well, he's talked about how they've already had these impeachment votes, right? That it's already out there. And he believes, and I think many other Republicans believe, if for some reason the Democrats take that House back, that's one of the first things they're going to try to do, is to impeach the president. Now, again, let's go with history. This is something that's been going on, again, for years. So many people have tried to do this. Many of the presidents, you don't even know that their votes have been there for impeachment. We know the ones, we know what Jackson, we know what happened with Clinton, we know what happened with Nixon, but we don't know that these votes happen all the time.
Yeah, and you know, the thing is that people don't realize that the impeachment is an indictment.
Exactly.
And then the trial's in the Senate.
Exactly.
You know, it's like with Bill Clinton in, what, 98, you know, he was impeached, but then he was acquitted.
Yeah, he got censured, right? He lost his law license, but he's still president.
You know, Saturday afternoon, and here comes Bill Clinton and Al Gore after the vote, where he was impeached, saying, I will stay in office to the last minute of the last day of this of my administration. You know, so, I mean, there's a lot ahead. We've got 3 weeks to Election Day.
I just love the fact that we are in the center, obviously in the center of the country, but we're in the center of this kind of race where the conversation, when it's happening that night, and whether it's Wolf Blitzer or whoever else is up there talking about stuff, Nebraska is going to be in that conversation. The 2nd District is going to be in that conversation.
Yeah, it's great. You know, and across the river, you've got Axney and Young.
Exactly.
That's an important seat.
Oh, how much money are they spending? I see their commercials constantly on our air and on you guys' air, and I just go, wow. And they, again, they're talking about opposite sides. Oh, they are incredibly opposite.
And she's got the Social Security ads out there and the Medicare.
And he's attacking her on ag and saying, and she goes back and goes, well, no, you know, my grandfather had a soybean farm. I mean, they go back and forth.
You know, they're two good races, and there's interesting dynamics. Overall, I mean, we did 3 debates. We did the gubernatorial debate at the State Fair. We did the U.S. Senate debate at the State Fair, kind of kicked off the political season just before Labor Day. And then we did this one 3 weeks until Election Day. You think minds changed tonight, or you think voters kind of reaffirm their positions on Bacon?
I wish that people went into this process with their minds open. I don't know if we're there anymore. I don't think that happens. I remember when we were
If you like Don Bacon, you're voting for Don Bacon. If you like Kara Eastman, you like her just as much.
When we were in Albuquerque together, Senator Wilson was running.
Heather Wilson.
Heather Wilson was running. And I really believe that after her debate she did, that she won some people over with her military background and everything. I don't know if that happens anymore. That's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm not sure in this environment anymore do people go in. I think they go in going, I hate that person, and whatever they say, I'm going to disagree with it. I'm not going to vote for it.
We had a UNO professor tell our senior reporter, Jake Wazikowski, last week that he doesn't believe there should be a middle ground in politics and there should be compromise. He thinks the right should go right, the left should go left. We should argue it out, and whoever wins, wins.
But there is no winning. If you don't get any policies passed, you're not winning.
Right.
So, how do we determine the winner?
I guess winning these days is stop the other guy.
Are we going to do like an arm wrestling? What are we going to do for winning? We do free throw shooting contests? I don't believe that anybody's winning right now. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see who wins on November 6th.
Definitely.
There will be
Nice
a winner,
segue.
hopefully that night. Sometimes it carries over into the next day, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
You know?
Well, I remember going down to a place trying to find some ballots that were lost. Sure.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Definitely.
All right. Good to do it, my friend.
Good talking to you again.
Yeah, as always, Michael.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us in the KMTV 3 News Now Facebook page, and thanks for watching the debate.